Ahoy there, me hearties. This be Captain Silver Hook, and you're listening to the Two Old Pirates podcast. Set sail for an open sea of stories, tales, and some really crazy stuff. I expect you to like and subscribe, lest you be walking the plank.
Hi, this is Eric with the Two Old Pirates. I wanted to let everybody out there know that this is an R-rated episode. Once again, this is an R-rated episode with adult themes. Please do not watch this if you feel squeamish or sad about cursing. It is R-rated. Thank you very much, and we hope that you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Two Old Pirates, episode 77. We have a familiar face back.
Hello. I'm missing my glasses, but it should be a familiar face.
Yes, Vinny is back, and he's not been able to be up here for a while. He's still doing his thing down in Rockport and stuff, and I've been busy and stuff, so I've had to pump out some of these solo, but we are still the Two Old Pirates. And the last one that we did was the last one that we put out was, of course, a tribute to my old friend Fung, who had passed away. And if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that you click and watch that. You'll learn about a really decent, good human being who left us far too early. But we're going to try to get back onto the road again here and do something that maybe you guys will enjoy. And we're going to cover some of the biggest rumors in the history of mankind, and one of them is true.
Only one.
The rest are false. And you'll have to pick out which one you think was true out of these. So here we go with some rumors for you. You can pick any of them.
All right. I'll go with the first one. Before we get into this episode, I should also say this is probably going to be a R-rated Two Old Pirates installment, because unfortunately when it comes to rumors and things like that, the ones that stick are the more adult ones. So we're going to be talking about some adult subjects.
Some of it will be graphic, some of it is R-rated. You know that we usually bring you just regular level-headed stuff, but we decided that some of these rumors were just so out there that we thought we'd talk about them. And remember, one of them is true.
Yeah.
Okay. So, go ahead.
So the first one I want to talk about is one that circulated widely when I was in high school, when this person was at the height of their popularity. I'm talking, of course, about Marilyn Manson. And if I just say Marilyn Manson, some of you guys may have already pieced together.
And some of you might not even know who he is anymore because it's so long ago.
Marilyn Manson was basically a shock rock star whose outward persona was really edgy, alternative, vile, and just really shocking. People would say, oh, the Columbine shooters listened to Marilyn Manson music, and that's why they went and did what they did.
I remember the first time that I saw the Beautiful People video.
Yeah.
And I was a legitimate adult male man. You know, I was a man. And it still kind of was spooky.
Yeah.
Some of the images and how they'd come in, it looks spooky. And the churches, especially, you know, like the Catholic Church, they were like, don't watch this stuff. He's satanic.
He's the Antichrist.
And if you've ever heard the guy in real life, he's very articulate, very nice.
Yeah.
It's a persona, and it caught people's attentions. And when mom and dad said, don't listen to this, kids went out and bought his stuff, and he went platinum. But this rumor is unique.
So it was alleged that as part of his shocking persona, that Marilyn Manson had his bottom two ribs surgically removed so that he could bend forward far enough to fillet himself. And that was something that was taken as truth among everyone I went to high school with. They all say, did you hear about Marilyn Manson? He had his ribs removed so he could go down on himself.
Yes, unfortunately, I was already teaching by this time, and you'd hear kids that had really got into his music and stuff, and they just took it for fact that they had heard it somewhere. This is before social
media.
Yeah, this is before smartphones or anything like this, and it just creeped its way through, and people believed that, yes, he had ribs removed so that he could perform oral sex on himself.
But he was such a weird, shocking, creepy person
that people thought that maybe he did
it sounded plausible. As dumb as it was, it sounded plausible.
So that's rumor number one. True or false? You'll have to go ahead and think about that. I'll do the next one. You might not have heard about this one because it's even older, but Catherine the Great at one time was the queen of the Russian Empire. And evidently she had a very, very deep sexual hunger. So she evidently had many, many, many lovers.
Yeah, she was called a nymphomaniac
Yes.
by some accounts.
Now, historically, they look back and they think that most of that was false, and it was by people that didn't like her as the leader and the ruler of Russia. But upon her death, what came out and was written in certain books by people that really didn't like her was that she had died from having sexual relations with a horse. You heard me right. That the Queen of Russia, Catherine the Great, had died in sexual congress with a horse.
Yeah. Specifically,
A stallion.
Well,
stallion.
obviously,
Yes, a stallion.
but specifically that the harness that was holding the horse broke, and she was crushed to death.
By the
was the story.
Yes. And is it true? Well, you'll find out at the end of the episode. Okay.
The next one I'd like to talk about is Walt Disney. Now, some of you guys may have already known this one as well. When I say Walt Disney, what the mythos and the rumors that surround the late Walt Disney is that apparently when he died, he was cryogenically frozen. Now, the rumor is further diversified by saying sometimes it's just his head that was cryogenically frozen, and other times it was his entire body, the location. But the most pervasive myth is that Walt Disney is frozen somewhere underneath Disneyland. In the park somewhere underneath Disneyland, there is a tank, a cryogenic tank that contains Walt Disney's body. And I guess the reason for that is because what did Walt Disney die from? Do you know? He was dead.
He died of cancer.
He died of cancer. Okay, so I would imagine they would have frozen him so that when a cure for cancer is discovered, they can resuscitate Walt Disney from his cryogenic state.
Yes.
And cure his cancer, and he could live again. The rumor alleges that Walt Disney's body, when he passed away, was frozen and is sealed somewhere underneath Disneyland. Now, I've been to Disneyland a couple times. I've been there
probably about 5 or 6 times.
That's not one of the attractions that's on the map.
No. They don't
So-
say they don't say like the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean and frozen dead guy. over
Yeah,
there.
he's frozen somewhere in the Hall of Presidents. He's just that's in Walt Disney World.
They have the Hall of Presidents in both.
They do?
Of course, Disneyland's the original.
I don't remember that.
It's the OG.
So, but mostly the story revolves around him being underneath Cinderella's castle somewhere. That's the big friggin' castle. So,
I like his explanations. Cop pulls him over. Do you know who almost ran you off the road? Big freaking truck. There was a famous actress back in the 1920s when it was still silent film before the talkies came out, and her name was Clara Bow, and she would be like today's like top actress. And there's a lot of people that loved her. She was called the It Girl because the first movie that she was in was called It. It had nothing to do with the freaking clown or children or anything. But the thing that happened is there were some people that became very jealous of her, and they started writing these really, really horrible things about her and her sexual libido and all these different things that she did. Then finally, well after her death, a guy wrote a book about early Hollywood and during that time period. And one of the things that he wrote in there is that Clara Bow, at a party, slept with the entire USC football team, the whole team. And John Wayne, the actor John Wayne, was actually on the USC football team, so he attached him saying, and one of the great actors in American history, was amongst all the other young football players who was with Clara Bow one evening. So you're talking like maybe 50 or 60 football players.
Yeah.
Something like that should never have caught fire, but it did. And to this day, the rumor still is, did Clara Bow literally sleep with an entire college football team?
and Mom, if you're listening to this one's for you.
Oh, you're taking this one?
I'm taking this one. I'll take the heat for this one. I'll make the next time I see my parents awkward.
It's my favorite.
Rod Stewart, the Rod the Mod, the great British singer Rod Stewart. He's approaching 80 these days. He still performs. Multi-platinum selling artist. World famous. I grew up listening to his music.
Tonight's the night. It's gonna be alright. What's his other song? Do you think I'm sexy or something like that?
Yeah. If you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, sugar, let me know. Yeah.
That Rod Stewart.
Yeah, that
and
Rod Stewart.
we did perfect. The riffing is the acapella.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's
Sounds
there.
just like him.
We've never done The Voice or American Idol because it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
It would not be fair.
That performance right there, all 4 chairs turn around.
They all turn around, and American Idol just says, boom, you've got the gold card to wherever we're at this year. I mean, it's not even fun.
Not fair.
It's not even fair to think the talent is right here. And we just do this because we love you.
The story alleges that at one point Rod Stewart had to be checked in to the emergency room to have his stomach pumped after a night of partying because he had serviced so many men that there was over a pint, some stories say a gallon of semen in his stomach.
See who?
And of course, Rod Stewart, this rumor has fallen upon many different people, including David Bowie, Mick Jagger, John Bon Jovi, but it's stuck with Rod Stewart throughout his entire career.
It kind of like did pew pew, bounced off everybody else, and Rod's all like, "Do you think I'm sexy?" And they're like, "Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We think that you swallow." We think that's why 7-Eleven named it the Big Gulp. Sorry, Gretel.
So, the story alleges that he had to go to the emergency room to have his stomach pumped because he was not feeling well after that, which I would imagine would be the case. So, he actually talked about it in his autobiography. He talks about the rumor in that book.
All right, so an actor that's been around since, I want to say like 78 or 79. He was actually up for an Oscar for An Officer and a Gentleman. Famous actor, Richard Gere. He's beloved by millions of women. There's been a rumor that has chased him his entire career, that in the early 80s, he was at a party for a certain demographic of male folk, and they got into a new type of game per se, where you would take a live rodent called a gerbil, and you would insert said gerbil into an orifice that's usually an exit for pleasure, and it's been over probably about 40 years now, and the rumor is still, if you look it up, the rumor is still that Richard Gere had a gerbil inserted into his rectum for pleasure.
And that has followed him throughout his entire career.
It's followed him through the entire, 40 years of it.
Jokes and references to it have appeared in movies such as Urban Legend references it. And I think Richard Gere even mentions it himself in, what was it, Movie 43? Something like that, yeah. So he even mentions it. But that rumor has persisted throughout his entire career. So, last one I'm going to get into is, these have all been celebrity or famous people, but I think people from commercials, people from really successful commercials, can also be seen as a form of celebrity. And someone that a lot of people grew up with in the 70s was Little Mikey from the Life cereal commercials. And he's the one's like, "Oh, he ate it. Mikey really ate it." And that the kid in the commercials always impressed or shocked his older brothers because they didn't like Life cereal, but Mikey ate it, and that was the that was how they marketed the cereal. Life cereal's pretty boring. I've had it. It's nothing to write home about. But the story goes is that little Mikey, who was eating such healthy cereal, later died from eating too much junk food. Specifically, he consumes so much Pop Rocks, the popping candy, and Coca-Cola.
And he chased it with soda, with the carbonation.
And that the gases from the Pop Rocks reacted with the carbonation in the soda in his stomach, and that his stomach ruptured, and he died from complications from that. So this one I can actually say, I'll give you guys a clue, he's very much still alive, because if you watch the show Mythbusters, they actually tested this myth on the show, and they determined that in order for this to happen, you would have to eat a ridiculous amount of Pop Rocks and soda, and that would kill you long before the buildup of gases would ever would. So there's one more.
The last one. If you know anything about me and you look in the back, you'll see Celtics stuff forever. Huge fan of the Boston Celtics. Love the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics are my family. Basically, everything is about the Celtics. If you look, where am I pointing? Right over Vinny's head right there. You see another Celtics thing. But the thing is, in 2008, the last time that they won the NBA championship, which I was a young man back then, Paul Pierce was their all-star, future Hall of Famer. And in, I believe it was game 1, he went up for a rebound, and when he came down, he grimaced and grabbed his knee. And everybody stopped play, and the Celtics nation, we all held our breaths. Because the way he was grimacing on the ground and holding his knee, it looked like he had blown his knee out. I mean, people don't react like that if you just twinge it a little bit or something like that. They eventually picked him up. He couldn't put any weight on it. He didn't even try to sit up. They carried him under his leg and in the back of his neck, and they picked him up. They brought him over. They finally brought out a wheelchair, and we, in game 1 of the first final in a lot of years, were like, no, it can't happen. We hadn't been in a final since '87. It's 2008. You're talking a long time, and now your star is out. They showed him on national TV being wheeled back to the trainer's room, and he's crying almost. He's holding his knee, and it's over. It's over. The Celtics team was gasping. The fans, it was dead silent. And then about 10 or 15 minutes later, like in a heroic movie and stuff, he comes bounding out of the locker room, runs out on the court. He's bouncing around, and they're like, Paul Pierce, Paul Pierce, Paul Pierce. And people are like going crazy and stuff. And he goes in, and we end up winning that game, and we end up winning the championship. And it's just like, people always question what happened to the knee. Did he just like turn it the wrong way and it just sent a quick jolt of pain? Was it more being afraid that he had blown out his knee or something? But he came back and finished the entire series, and we won, and it was amazing. And then several years later, a rumor started floating out that somebody in the team, I guess, put out there. And the rumor was that what had actually happened was Paul had an upset stomach, and he was playing that night, and he went up for a rebound. And when he came back, his stomach said, nope, I need to evacuate right now. And he shit himself. So that's why he went to the ground, because he wasn't going to hold his butt and try to, look like a freaking penguin going off.
Walking like a cowboy.
And so he fell to the ground, and he thought, man, I'll act like my knee's blown out, and maybe that'll cover for this. So while everybody in the stadium, his teammates, even the other team, the Lakers, are like, oh my God, he's hurt and stuff. We wanted to have the best play against us and stuff. The rumor that transpired was that he had actually pooped himself, and that he couldn't get up because it would have maybe become even messier. And so they put him in a wheelchair so you could not see, and they pushed him back there. He cleaned himself up, got everything back in order, got some water in his system, put a new pair of shorts and undies on, and went back out there and played. We thought it was a miracle that he came back. We thought that his season was over, maybe his career was over, but the rumor is he had only shat himself.
Yeah.
So those are all the ones for this episode, and so one of those we know
yes
is true.
One of them is true, and it's not Mikey, because I told you guys I had to give you the scoop on Mythbusters, because out of all these rumors, that's the one that made it onto the show. They tested it, and I thought that was a nice anecdote. So it's not Mikey and the Life Cereal one. So out of the remaining 7, one of those is true.
So Vinny, gave you one. He gave you one.
Mark it off.
So between Marilyn Manson, Self-Fellatio, Richard Gere, Gerbil in the Behind, Catherine the Great dying from having sex with a horse, Walt Disney being frozen there somewhere on the Disneyland grounds, Paul Pierce shatting himself, Clara Bow servicing the entire USC football team, which one is true and which ones are false? Are we going to tell them, or they have to look it up?
I think Googling is fun. You guys
Okay.
can
Leave
look
it
it
up
up.
to them?
Leave it up
All
to
right.
you guys.
Let's see who is the first to respond with the correct one, and we'll get you a prize.
Yeah.
If you share and comment and like this video, we'll get you something.
Yeah, we'll figure something
We'll
out.
figure something out. We'll figure
Yeah.
out who you are, and if you're the first person to comment, we'll make sure that you guys get a
We're
prize.
gonna have an interesting search history, by the way. Hopefully, you got a VPN.
Some of you that are younger, you might not want your parents coming in like, gerbil in the butt. Rod Stewart, I loved him. Catherine the Great, what was she great for? The horse. So yeah, you guys might want to be careful with your search engine. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So I guess what would they do? Go into their history and delete?
Yeah, delete your history. Open an incognito window.
Yeah, do something like that. But yes, one of those is true. The other ones are all false. And let's see if you guys can figure it out. The first person to comment with the correct one, you will be the winner. And you'll get something special from the...
Two Old Pirates.
There you go. So I'm happy to have my right-hand man back. That Vinny's back. We'll try to make sure that we have more episodes with him, because I know that I get boring after a while. But I really want to thank that he came all the way up and he did this for us.
Yeah.
And for the Two Old Pirates in episode 77 is Eric.
I'm Vinny.
And have a great day.